Hello, wonderful artists. This is Mrs. Peters from the Art Office teaching you how to make a cereal box art book. Today we're going to go step by step and learn how to make our book. So we're using cereal box in front or the advertisement on the front. And we're going to put our packet in there, and then we will use this throughout the semester, and you don't have to buy a sketchbook. So let's get started by finding your supplies. So the first thing that you're going to need is your directions. They look like this. You'll need a cereal box that is about the size of a standard piece of computer paper. You're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need a marker. A Sharpie works really well for this assignment. You're going to need whatever color class yarn that I gave you. You're going to need the packet of papers that go into the book. Each classes may be a little different. You're going to need your needle and a hole puncher. Okay, so step 1 says cut off the top and bottom edges of the cereal box, only the top and bottom. So what that looks like is you'll see that this Cheerio box book has 2 flaps. Here's the bottom, and here is the top. Usually where the box tops are, which I believe are all digital now. Good job. This right here is extra, and we're going to recycle this. Very good. Next step is open box and cut 1 crease or corner. So what that means is you're going to find that your box is a form, okay? So it has 4 creases. Choose one and cut that crease. Sometimes they're a little tricky to cut, so I turn it to cut it like that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for you. There you go. So now, step 3 says open the cardboard box up and find the halfway crease. Mark it to make 2 equal pieces of cardboard. So it shows you we open the box up. I took a marker and I marked it, and then we're going to cut that mark. So since most of you have 1 cardboard box where you are, you need to be very careful. That's why we draw it first. So there's a big rectangle, a small rectangle, a big rectangle, a small rectangle. Most students want to cut these off. They want to cut the nutrition facts off. Don't do that, okay? So I noticed that if I fold it like this, that this end and this end don't meet up. So this crease is not the right one. This one also doesn't meet with this side, so they're not equal. So this crease is the correct crease. And I'm going to draw a line there because then it's a good visual so that you can see that it's equal on the right and equal on the left. Go ahead and cut that crease once it is equal. You can also fold your cardboard in half. So now you see that both of my pieces are equal for a good front and back cover. All right, step 4 says take the first page of the packet. Only the first page. Use a marker to mark holes from the pre-measured 3-hole punch to the cereal box cover, the front cover. So this is where you decide if you prefer to have pumpkin spice Cheerios on the outside or cardboard. It doesn't matter to me. A lot of students prefer this for when they want to draw or doodle on their art book. So I'll just keep it like this so you can see easily. I'm going to take the first page of our art book, and I'm just going to slide it in a tiny bit from the edge and take my Sharpie and make 1, 2, 3 dots. Those dots are just marking where the pre-measured holes are. And then I'll put this back. Next step is step 5. Put the first page of the packet back on the packet. So let's put that right there. Then punch out the holes with your hole puncher. Put the cap back on my marker. So you just take your hole puncher, and not all hole punchers are created equal, so some of you might have to press with 2 hands. Like that. Ta-da. Step 6. Use the hole punch cover as a template to mark holes on the back of the book. So we want the holes from the front cover to be lined up with the holes on the back cover. So I'm going to make tic-tac-toe my back cover where the nutrition facts are. I line it up. So what you see is the front back cover are aligned. All the rectangle corners and sides line up. So then you take your marker and you mark holes where the holes already are. And if you move it, just readjust it so the lines line up. It says to punch the holes for the last part of step 6. So 1, 2, 3 holes on my back cover. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Nice job. Now I'm ready to move on to step 7. Step 7 says thread your needle. Yarn should be length of 2 lengths of your outstretched arms. No knot is required. So if your yarn's all tangled up, just find one end and find your blue or whatever color needle I gave you. And to do this, very carefully, pinch your yarn with your finger and wiggle it through that hole in the needle. That's called the eye of the needle. And pull it. Okay, very nice. So now what you want to do is you want to find the other end of the yarn and put both ends together like that. So one hand pinches those together and the other hand is going to pull way away so that they're all together. Let me show you what this looks like. See how I'm stretching it out like that. All right. So step 8 says make a cereal box sandwich. Box, packet, box. So you start with your cereal box, the back cover, and then you take your whole entire packet. And there's a lot of pages on your packet. There's 122, and they're both sides, so 61 pages of paper, depending on what grade level you're in. So tap it a couple times to get it right, and see how all the holes kind of line up. Well, guess what? Those holes are going to move. Trust me, the needle is your friend. So don't worry if you're the kind of kid that it moved. You're like, it moved. Don't worry, you'll get it right. So put them on top. Make like a sandwich. This is the bread. This is your favorite sandwich. So maybe peanut butter and jelly or turkey or ham and cheese. And then when you finish your sandwich, you put the top piece of bread on. It's just cardboard. We're pretending. All right, good job. Now we're ready to bind our book. So now we move on to step 9, and it's super important that you follow the steps. Needle goes through the middle hole first. Leave extra yarn to tie later. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm just going to wiggle it through. And the needle is your friend. You can line up all your pages basically by using that needle and then right through the back cover. Give it a good pull. And sometimes, oh, it's so tricky to pull it through, but do the best you can. All right. So I would say leave about this much, and you can see that my ends don't match, and that's okay as long as you have about maybe 4 or 5 inches of one that does, and you have lots of extra yarn to bind your book. All right, next step is step 10. Go through the front middle hole again to make a loop from the front to the back. So this big arrow is pointing to the loop on the edge of the Cheerios box. So what that means is, here's my front cover. I didn't flip it, following directions. I'm going to take my needle and once again, wiggle it right through all the way to the back cover, like that. So now I'm going to pull it, and you really want to give it a good pull. Like that. Okay, now I'm just kind of pulling two together like that. And what you'll see is something that is very common and helpful in Japanese stab binding. Those loops are super duper important. So if you don't have a loop, your book will be all discombobulated. It'll move around. It won't be secure. So the loops really help it stay secure. All right, now we're on to step 11. Step 11 says to flip the box over and go through the top hole. Step 11. Now make sure you flip the box over, then go through the top hole. Use your needle to make sure each hole is threaded. So it says to flip it over. So I'm going to flip it over to the back side. And then it says to go through the top hole, making sure that each hole of my packet is threaded. So take your time and get each one. That's why the needle is your friend. Right through and give it a good pull. There we go. Excellent. All right, step 12 says go back through the top middle hole and to make a loop. So here's the back side. Didn't say to flip it over. I'm going to come around. You can see that that's where I'm going to go through and wiggle your needle through. You'll notice that as you go along, it'll be easier to thread your needle. Give it a good pull, 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 pull with your muscles. Pull it through. Excellent. Just like that. Beautiful. Okay. Now step 13, flip the box over, then go through the middle hole again. Flip it over and go through the middle hole again. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your needle through. So we're about halfway finished once you get to this point. You'll notice that if you did this right, you should have a loop on top, a connection, a loop on the bottom. Okay? And if I flipped it over, it will be the same way. Let's read our next step. It says, flip the box over and go through the bottom hole, making sure each hole is threaded with your needle. So let's flip it over. Go through the bottom hole. So wiggle your needle. Make sure each hole is threaded. Excellent. And give it a good pull. Sometimes when you pull, I just want to show you kind of a common mistake. Sometimes your yarn gets caught on the corner of your packet. And there's a simple solution. All you do is you just kind of pull it over with your hand and pull through. Just like that. All right, we are on to step 15. Go back through the bottom hole again. You guessed it. Go back through the bottom hole again to make another loop. So take your needle, go back through the bottom hole, wiggle, 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 and pull it through. Okay, and sometimes this is a common thing that happens when you pull through. The loop ends up being here. Simple solution too. You just take it and move it like that and pull. All right, we are on to step 16. Flip box over and go back through the middle hole again. Yes, we're going to go back through the middle hole one more time. Flip it over, and you can see that connection line is here on the top, but it's not on the bottom. So just go right back through that middle hole again. Kind of like an infinity sign. You go through the middle a couple times. Give it a good pull. You really got to be strong here and pull it through. All right. Step 17. Cut string and tie ends together with several knots. Tip. Leave extra string hanging so that if the binding becomes loose, you can easily tie it back together. Do not cut the string short or close to the knots. Let me show you what that means. So I'm going to take, you should have some extra yarn, which is good. It's always nice to have extra. So I'm just going to cut the extra right there. And I'm going to tie these two together. Now, if you're not really good at tying, think of them like shoelaces, where you take all the pieces of purple yarn and you're just going to make a loop here and then bring it through the loop. So crisscross applesauce, you maybe learned that in elementary, and give it a good pull. And we want to really secure our book binding, so we're going to tie it again and pull. I'm going to do this a couple times. Now, sometimes with movement with your books, the book binding can or will become a little bit loose. Yarn tends to, you know, it's made, some yarn like this is made out of polyester and it kind of moves a little bit or will loosen up. So what I would do is you're going to have this excess string. But when you go to cut it, don't cut it too close to the knot. So just in case it does become loose, all you have to do is just retie it a couple times. But you can trim this down if you like, so it's shorter, so you have like a little bit of fringe. Feel free to tie a knot, braid it, do like a staircase. They call them Chinese staircases, where you go around, whatever you want to be decorative, but leave that extra yarn there. So this is your front cover. You guys are almost done. Really, really nice work, everybody. Last page on our directions. Write your name on the top of the front cover. So check to make sure it's the front. This is the front. And I'll put Mrs. Peters. And it's always good to label what this is. This is your art book. And then feel free to draw all over it, whatever you want. Now, very, very last step so you can earn your grade. It says, step 19, hold binding down and fold the cardboard back to open your book easily. So what that means is take your hand and you're going to stretch it out so it's kind of like an L. And put it right on top of the binding. Press down. Now you're going to literally fold that cardboard around your hand, and I just press down really hard, kind of use your muscles, so then you can easily crease your cardboard, open your book, and see. These are all a lot of the things that we are going to learn this year. Congratulations, you did it. You have officially earned 100 on your Japanese stab binding, Japanese stab book binding. Now you're ready to use it. Nice job. Make sure you take a picture of your work and post it to our Google Classroom so that I can see that you did a really nice job and you tried your best. As always, if you have questions, feel free to email me. Really good job. Keep up the great work. Stay creative, my wonderful artists. Until we meet again, peace, love, and artwork.